A bright college student steps outside on a sunny May morning to clean lamp fixtures at her sister's apartment complex. Within minutes, she vanishes in broad daylight, leaving behind only her flip-flops and a bucket of water. The investigation becomes one of Oregon's most publicized cases, spanning 5 agonizing years before a predator's confession finally brings the truth to light. Brooke Carole Wilberger enters the world on February 20, 1985, in Fresno, California, the daughter of Greg and Cammie Wilberger. She grows up in a loving household near Eugene, Oregon, alongside 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Friends and family describe her as soft-spoken yet determined, compassionate, and deeply devoted to her faith as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Brooke excels academically and athletically at Elmira High School, showing particular talent in basketball. Her dream involves becoming a speech pathologist, a career that reflects her caring nature and desire to help others. At 19, Brooke completes her freshman year at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, where she follows her childhood sweetheart, Justin Blake. Justin currently serves as a Mormon missionary in Venezuela, and the couple maintains their relationship despite the distance. Brooke thrives in the college environment, embracing new experiences while staying grounded in her values. The summer of 2004 brings Brooke back to Oregon for break. Her sister Stephanie manages the Oak Park Apartments in Corvallis, just blocks from Oregon State University's campus, and offers Brooke a job helping with maintenance work. Brooke accepts, looking forward to earning money and spending time with family. May 24, 2004, starts like any ordinary Monday morning in Corvallis. The morning sun climbs over Corvallis, Oregon, casting warm light across the Oak Park Apartments complex. Brooke wakes up in the apartment she shares with her sister Stephanie and brother-in-law, ready for another day of work. The tasks ahead seem simple enough. Cleaning light fixtures around the sprawling property, basic maintenance that keeps the complex looking its best. Around 10:01 a.m., Stephanie glances out her window and sees Brooke outside, filling a bucket with water near the parking area. Her younger sister wears casual clothes and flip-flops, dressed for a morning of outdoor work in the pleasant May weather. Nothing about the scene raises any concern. Brooke waves, and Stephanie returns to her own tasks inside the apartment. The complex sits just 1 block from Oregon State University's campus, a location that brings steady foot traffic and a sense of safety in numbers. Students and residents move through the area regularly. Cars pass by on nearby streets. The setting offers no indication that danger lurks just moments away. Brooke carries her cleaning supplies to the far end of the parking lot, where several lamp fixtures need attention. She works methodically, focused on the task at hand. The parking area creates a dead-end space, bordered by buildings on 3 sides. Few people venture to this particular spot during morning hours. Around 10:30 a.m., residents inside nearby apartments hear something that makes them pause. A scream pierces the air, brief, sharp. Then silence returns to the complex. Some residents wonder about the sound but see nothing unusual when they look outside. Others dismiss it as students horsing around or someone startled by a spider. No one calls the police. No one rushes outside to investigate. The morning continues. Hours pass. Stephanie expects Brooke for lunch around noon. The sisters plan to eat together at Stephanie's apartment, a casual midday break from their work. Noon arrives. Brooke doesn't show up. Stephanie waits, assuming her sister lost track of time or got caught up finishing a project. 1 o'clock passes, then 1:30 p.m. Now Stephanie feels genuine concern growing in her chest. She walks outside to look for Brooke, calling her name across the complex grounds. No response echoes back. Stephanie checks the areas where Brooke planned to work that morning. That's when she discovers something that sends ice through her veins. In the parking lot, Brooke's flip-flops sit abandoned on the pavement. Next to them, the bucket of water remains exactly where Brooke set it down. Her cleaning supplies lie scattered nearby, but Brooke herself has vanished completely. Stephanie's concern transforms into alarm. She races back to her apartment and grabs her phone, dialing Brooke's cell number with shaking fingers. The call goes straight to voicemail. She tries again. Same result. Stephanie runs to check Brooke's room in their shared apartment. Everything sits untouched. Brooke's purse, her wallet, her car keys, her vehicle parked in its usual spot. Before we continue with what happened that afternoon, hit that subscribe button if you want to see justice served in cases like this. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Stephanie's husband joins the search, both of them calling Brooke's name throughout the complex. Other residents notice the commotion and ask what's wrong. Word spreads quickly that Brooke Wilberger has disappeared. Someone suggests checking with friends. Maybe Brooke decided to visit someone and forgot to mention it. But Stephanie knows her sister better than that. Brooke never abandons her responsibilities. She never leaves without telling someone where she's going. By mid-afternoon, Stephanie makes the call that sets everything in motion. She dials the Corvallis Police Department and reports her sister missing. The manager of Oak Park Apartments speaks with dispatch at 1:47 p.m., his voice tight with worry. "I've got someone who's missing, a worker of mine that we can't seem to find," he explains. "I'm the manager of the Oak Park Apartments, and this worker actually happens to be my sister-in-law. She's 19. The dispatcher asks standard questions. How long has she been missing? What was she wearing? Does she have any medical conditions? Any reason she might leave on her own? The answers paint a picture of a young woman who simply wouldn't disappear voluntarily. Officers arrive at the Oak Park Apartments within minutes. They conduct a preliminary sweep of the property, talking to residents, examining the area where Brooke's belongings were found. The abandoned flip-flops and cleaning supplies tell a troubling story. So does the scream that residents heard hours earlier, but didn't report. Lieutenant Ron Noble of the Corvallis Police Department makes an unusual decision. Normally, police wait before investigating missing adult cases. Adults possess the legal right to come and go as they please. Standard procedure involves waiting to see if the person returns on their own. But Noble looks at the evidence in front of him. The devoted college student, the abandoned belongings, the scream, the complete absence of explanation, and decides to break protocol. The investigation begins immediately. Officers canvass the neighborhood, knocking on doors, asking if anyone saw anything unusual that morning. They search the apartment complex thoroughly, checking storage areas, vacant units, anywhere a person might be hidden or hiding. They contact Brooke's friends, her boyfriend Justin, serving his mission in Venezuela, anyone who might know her whereabouts. As evening falls on May 24, 2004, the Wilberger family gathers at Stephanie's apartment, clinging to hope but fearing the worst. Cammie and Greg Wilberger arrive from their home near Eugene, their faces etched with worry. Brooke's siblings join the vigil. Everyone tries calling her phone repeatedly. Nobody sleeps that night. The next morning, May 25th, police hold a press conference. They announce publicly what the family already knows in their hearts. Brooke Wilberger was likely abducted from the Oak Park Apartments parking lot in broad daylight. The case immediately captures media attention across Oregon and beyond. What investigators found next would send the case in a direction no one expected. The Corvallis Police Department transforms the Oak Park Apartments into an active crime scene. Yellow tape cordons off the parking area where Brooke vanished. Forensic teams photograph every inch of pavement, collecting trace evidence that might reveal what happened during those crucial minutes around 10:30 a.m. The flip-flops become critical evidence. Their position on the ground suggests Brooke stepped out of them suddenly, possibly while being forced into a vehicle. The bucket of water sits undisturbed, its contents still sloshing slightly when investigators examine it. No signs of struggle mark the immediate area. No torn clothing, no blood, no scattered belongings beyond what Brooke carried for her work. Detectives interview every resident of the Oak Park Apartments complex. the scream that neighbors heard takes on new significance. Multiple people confirm hearing it around 10:30 a.m., though descriptions vary slightly. Some describe it as brief and sharp. Others remember it as prolonged. All agree it came from the direction of the parking lot where Brooke worked. One critical detail emerges during interviews. Several witnesses recall seeing a green van in the area that morning. The vehicle appears to be an older model, possibly a Dodge Caravan. Some residents notice it because it seems out of place. No maintenance workers were scheduled that day. No deliveries expected. The van parks near the area where Brooke was working, then disappears around the same time she vanishes. Police immediately issue a public appeal for information about the green van. They release a description to local media and ask anyone who saw the vehicle to come forward. Tips begin flooding the phone lines, though most lead nowhere. People report seeing green vans all over Corvallis that day, but none of the sightings connect to concrete evidence. The Wilberger family's LDS ward organizes search parties. Hundreds of volunteers comb through wooded areas, parks, and open spaces around Corvallis. They distribute flyers with Brooke's photograph, plaster posters on telephone poles, contact every business in the area asking to display missing person notices. The community rallies with remarkable speed and dedication. Brooke's photograph appears on local news broadcasts, then regional coverage, then national media outlets. Her smile beams from television screens across America. The story captures public attention. A beautiful college student, deeply religious, devoted to her family, vanishes in broad daylight from a busy apartment complex. Everyone wants to help bring her home. Detectives expand their investigation beyond the immediate crime scene. They examine Brooke's social connections, looking for anyone who might want to harm her. Her boyfriend Justin remains in Venezuela, his alibi ironclad. Her friends and classmates at BYU express shock and grief. Her family provides complete cooperation, desperate for any lead that might bring their daughter home. Investigators contact registered sex offenders in the area. Approximately 2,000 names populate the local database. Each one requires follow-up, interviews, alibi verification, evidence collection. The task proves monumental, but necessary. Statistics show that stranger abductions often involve predators with previous offenses. Days turn into weeks. The search continues with undiminished intensity. Volunteers walk grid patterns through forests surrounding Corvallis. Dive teams search local waterways. Cadaver dogs work through abandoned properties and construction sites. Every effort turns up. Nothing. On May 28, 2004, 4 days after Brooke's disappearance, police name their first person of interest. Sung-Koo Kim draws investigative attention after his name surfaces during the sex offender canvass. Kim lives in the area and has a troubling history. Detectives bring him in for questioning. The interrogation reveals disturbing information about Kim's activities. He faces unrelated charges involving burglary and theft of women's personal property in Yamhill County. His behavior patterns raise red flags. He collects intimate items belonging to women, breaks into residences, exhibits predatory tendencies. Everything about Kim's profile suggests he could be responsible for Brooke's abduction. Police execute search warrants on Kim's property. They seize evidence, conduct forensic analysis, build a case connecting him to the crime scene. Media reports identify Kim as the prime suspect. Public pressure mounts for his arrest. The Wilberger family holds on to hope that police have found the man responsible, but the evidence doesn't cooperate. Forensic testing reveals no connection between Kim and Brooke's disappearance. His DNA doesn't match any samples collected from the crime scene. His alibis check out for the morning of May 24th. Witnesses place him elsewhere when Brooke vanished. Despite his disturbing behavior and criminal history, Kim didn't abduct Brooke Wilberger. On February 7, 2005, nearly 9 months after Brooke disappeared, police officially clear Sung-Koo Kim as a suspect. He eventually receives an 11-year prison sentence for his burglary and theft charges, but those crimes remain unrelated to Brooke's case. Kim's prosecution brings justice for his other victims, but provides no answers about what happened to Brooke. the investigation pivots back to the green van. Detectives believe this vehicle holds the key to solving the case. On May 31, 2005, police issue renewed public appeals specifically about a 1997 green Dodge Caravan. They refine their description based on witness statements and ask anyone with information about this specific vehicle to contact investigators immediately. The request generates new leads. An Oregon State University employee comes forward with critical information. She remembers seeing a green Dodge Caravan near the Oak Park apartments on the morning Brooke disappeared. More importantly, she saw the driver, a man who looked out of place in the residential area. Police work with her to create a composite sketch and examine photo lineups. Forensic teams continue processing evidence from the original crime scene. They find hair samples in the parking lot where Brooke worked. DNA analysis begins, though results take time to process. The samples might belong to Brooke, to the perpetrator, or to innocent residents who used the parking area. Testing technology in 2005 has limitations, but investigators preserve everything carefully for future analysis. Months stretch into a year. The Wilberger family maintains constant pressure on the investigation. They give media interviews, organize awareness campaigns, refuse to let Brooke's case fade from public consciousness. Cammie Wilberger becomes a tireless advocate, speaking at events, meeting with legislators, pushing for better resources for missing persons investigations. Brooke's photograph remains posted throughout Oregon. Businesses keep her flyer displayed long after other missing person notices come down. The community adopts her case as their own, determined to find answers. Vigils mark the anniversary of her disappearance. Volunteers continue searching on weekends, refusing to give up hope. But behind the public efforts, the investigation stalls. Detectives follow every lead, interview every potential witness, chase every possibility. Nothing breaks the case open. The green van remains unidentified. The driver remains unknown. Brooke's whereabouts remain a mystery, and that's where the case hits a wall that would last for years. 2004 fades into 2005, then 2006, with no significant progress. The Wilberger family lives in agonizing limbo, not knowing if Brooke is alive or dead, suffering or at peace. They organize searches on every major holiday, marking occasions Brooke should be celebrating with them. Her bedroom remains untouched, waiting for a homecoming that seems increasingly unlikely. Detectives assigned to Brooke's case refuse to move on. They maintain the investigation as an active priority, reviewing evidence regularly, following up on tips that still trickle in years after the abduction. The green Dodge Caravan haunts their thoughts. Somewhere, someone drives that vehicle, carrying the secret of what happened to Brooke Wilberger. The investigation expands beyond Oregon's borders. Similar cases in neighboring states receive scrutiny. Unsolved abductions, murdered young women, missing college students. Detectives search for patterns that might connect to Brooke's disappearance. They contact FBI profilers who help develop a psychological portrait of the likely perpetrator. The profile suggests a predator who targets young women opportunistically, someone familiar with the area around Oregon State University. Public appeals continue through media coverage. The Wilberger family appears on national television programs, sharing Brooke's story with audiences across America. They establish a reward fund for information leading to her recovery. Donations pour in from strangers moved by their grief. The fund grows to substantial amounts, but money alone can't solve the mystery. In 2006, investigators catch a potential break. A man in New Mexico faces charges for attempted kidnapping and sexual assault. The victim, a young woman attending college, fights off her attacker and escapes. Police arrest Joel Patrick Courtney, a 39-year-old drifter with a troubling criminal history. He faces serious charges, but nothing initially connects him to Brooke's case in Oregon. Then, detectives dig deeper into Courtney's background. They discover he worked as a contract laborer in Oregon during 2004. Records show he performed odd jobs throughout the Willamette Valley during the spring and early summer of that year. His employment included work in Corvallis. The timeline places him in the area when Brooke vanished. More investigation reveals Courtney drove a work van during his time in Oregon. Company records describe the vehicle as a green 1997 Dodge Caravan. The description matches witness statements from the morning of May 24, 2004, perfectly. Police in New Mexico cooperate fully with Oregon investigators. They provide access to Courtney, his property, his vehicle history. Oregon detectives fly to New Mexico and begin building a case connecting Courtney to Brooke's abduction. But they need physical evidence. They need forensic proof. They need something concrete that places Brooke inside Courtney's van. On August 25, 2005, Oregon authorities charged Joel Patrick Courtney with 19 counts related to Brooke Wilberger's disappearance and presumed murder. The charges include aggravated murder, kidnapping, sexual abuse, rape, and sodomy. Despite having no body, no confession, and limited physical evidence, prosecutors believe they can prove Courtney's guilt. The charges rest primarily on witness identification and circumstantial evidence. The OSU employee who saw the green van picks Courtney's photograph from a lineup with certainty. Other witnesses place him in the area that morning. His work records confirm his presence in Corvallis. The vehicle matches. The timeline aligns. Everything points to Courtney, even without the definitive proof prosecutors prefer. But Courtney remains in New Mexico, fighting extradition to Oregon. Legal battles drag on for months, then years. His defense attorneys argue against extradition, file motions, demand hearings. The Wilberger family watches helplessly as procedural delays prevent justice from moving forward. During this period, forensic teams finally track down Courtney's 1997 Dodge Caravan. The vehicle passes through several owners after Courtney finishes his contract work in Oregon. Each transfer creates legal complications for search warrant execution. Eventually, investigators gain access and process the van with meticulous care. People like Joel Courtney count on silence to cover their evil. Show them your voice stands for justice. Type "Justice for Brooke Wilberger" in the comments and hit that like button. The forensic results prove explosive. DNA analysis reveals Brooke Wilberger's genetic material inside the van. Her hair fibers match samples collected from her hairbrush. The evidence definitively places Brooke inside the vehicle Courtney drove on May 24, 2004. For the first time since her disappearance, investigators have concrete proof of what happened. Courtney's DNA mingles with Brooke's inside the van. The mixture of samples suggests physical contact, struggle, the nightmare scenario that Brooke's family feared. Forensic experts testify that the evidence indicates Brooke spent significant time inside the vehicle, supporting the abduction theory. Armed with this evidence, prosecutors intensify pressure on Courtney. They prepare for trial, organize witness testimony, build a case designed to secure a murder conviction, even without Brooke's body. Oregon law allows prosecution for homicide when circumstances prove death beyond reasonable doubt, even if remains haven't been recovered. On April 8, 2008, nearly 4 years after Brooke's disappearance, authorities finally extradite Joel Courtney to Benton County, Oregon. He appears in court the next day, April 9th, facing 14 counts, including aggravated murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and single counts of rape, sodomy, and sexual abuse. Court documents reveal additional disturbing information. On the same morning, Courtney abducted Brooke. He attempted to kidnap 2 other Oregon State University students. Both young women managed to escape his attacks. They provide testimony describing a man in a green van who approached them aggressively, trying to force them into his vehicle. Their descriptions match Courtney perfectly. The pattern emerges clearly. Courtney spent that May morning hunting for victims near the university campus. He targeted multiple women before encountering Brooke at the Oak Park apartments. The parking lot's dead-end configuration gave him the advantage he needed. Brooke couldn't escape like the others had. Prosecutors reveal that Courtney posed as a delivery person when he approached Brooke. The ruse gave him proximity before she realized the danger. He pulled a knife, forced her into the van at knife point while she screamed. Residents heard that scream but didn't investigate. Those precious seconds might have saved her life. As trial preparations advance, the Wilberger family files a civil lawsuit against the company that employed Courtney. They argue the contractor failed to conduct adequate background checks before hiring him. Proper screening would have revealed Courtney's criminal history. Previous convictions for DUI, violent behavior, assault. The company settled the case out of court, acknowledging their responsibility in the tragedy. Through 2008 and into 2009, the legal process grinds forward. Courtney's trial date gets set for February 1st, 2010. Defense attorneys work to suppress evidence, challenge witness testimony, create reasonable doubt. Prosecutors counter every motion, determined to secure justice for Brooke. But the Wilberger family faces an agonizing reality. Even with a conviction, they don't know where their daughter's remains rest. Courtney refuses to provide that information. He maintains his silence about Brooke's final resting place, wielding this knowledge as leverage. The question haunts Cammy and Greg Wilberger. Do they proceed to trial and risk losing, or do they negotiate with their daughter's murderer to bring her home? But in September 2009, a breakthrough would finally emerge from the most unexpected source. Prosecutors and defense attorneys begin discussions about a potential plea agreement in the summer of 2009. The conversations prove emotionally brutal for everyone involved, especially the Wilberger family. Any deal with Courtney means abandoning hopes for the death penalty. It means accepting less than full justice in exchange for answers they desperately need. Benton County District Attorney John Haroldson meets with the Wilberger family multiple times, explaining the options before them. A trial carries risks. Despite strong evidence, juries can be unpredictable. Witnesses might falter under cross-examination. Defense attorneys might introduce doubt. A not guilty verdict would devastate the family and leave Courtney free to appeal his New Mexico conviction. The death penalty itself presents complications. Oregon has capital punishment on the books, but executions remain rare and controversial. Even with a death sentence, Courtney would likely spend decades in appeals, rather than facing actual execution. The legal battles would drain the family emotionally and financially for years or decades. Against these uncertainties stands one concrete offer. Courtney indicates willingness to reveal where he left Brooke's body. After 5 years of not knowing, 5 years of wondering if their daughter's remains lie in a shallow grave or scattered in wilderness, the Wilbergers could finally bring her home. They could lay her to rest properly. They could visit her grave. They could achieve some measure of closure. The decision tears the family apart emotionally. Some members want Courtney to face the ultimate punishment for his heinous crime. Others prioritize recovering Brooke's remains above all else. They discuss, they pray, they seek counsel from their faith community. No choice feels right. Every option carries unbearable costs. Before we get to the agreement that shocked everyone, share this video with someone who follows true crime. Stories like Brooke's need to be heard. Also, drop a comment. What's the weather like where you are? Ultimately, Cammy and Greg Wilberger make the heartbreaking decision to support a plea agreement. They tell prosecutors they want their daughter back more than they want revenge against her killer. They want to end the uncertainty that has consumed their lives since May 24, 2004. Negotiations continue through August and into September 2009. Courtney's attorneys present their client's demands. Beyond avoiding the death penalty, Courtney wants to serve his sentence in New Mexico rather than Oregon. He claims his family lives in New Mexico and he wants proximity to them during his life imprisonment. The request seems audacious given his crimes, but prosecutors consider it a small price for the information they seek. On September 21, 2009, Joel Patrick Courtney stands before a judge and enters a plea of guilty to aggravated murder. The courtroom fills with media representatives, law enforcement officials, and members of the Wilberger family. The moment carries tremendous weight. Courtney admits to killing Brooke Wilberger. He accepts responsibility for destroying a young woman's life and devastating her family. The judge sentences Courtney to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The sentence ensures Courtney will die behind bars, never experiencing freedom again. He will never harm another woman. He will never troll college campuses seeking victims. His predatory career ends permanently. As part of the agreement, Courtney provides detailed information about Brooke's location. He leads authorities to a remote wooded area in Blodgett, Oregon, about 30 miles from Corvallis. The location sits far from any traveled roads, deep in forest where searchers never ventured during the massive volunteer efforts following Brooke's disappearance. Law enforcement officials travel to the site on September 19, 2009, 2 days before the public plea hearing. Courtney accompanies them in custody, directing them through the wilderness to a specific spot. Recovery teams begin the delicate process of excavating what Courtney left there 5 years earlier. The remains they discover confirm the family's worst fears. Brooke Wilberger died shortly after her abduction. She never had a chance to escape. She never saw another sunrise. Her life ended in that forest at age 19, her dreams of becoming a speech pathologist forever unfulfilled. During the plea hearing, District Attorney Haraldson reveals the horrifying details of what happened on May 24, 2004. The information comes from Courtney's confession, given as part of the plea agreement. The details prove almost too painful to hear, but the family deserves truth after years of uncertainty. Courtney admits he spent that morning driving around the Oregon State University area, high on crack cocaine and drunk, searching for a victim to satisfy his violent sexual fantasies. He attempted to abduct 2 OSU students first. Both women fought back and escaped his clutches. Their resistance saved their lives, but didn't deter Courtney from continuing his hunt. He spots Brooke at the Oak Park Apartments, working alone at the end of the parking lot. The isolated location provides the opportunity he's seeking. He approaches her posing as a delivery driver, closing the distance before she recognizes the danger. Courtney brandishes a knife and forces Brooke into his van. She screams. The sound neighbors hear but don't investigate. He binds her with duct tape, restraining her completely. Then he drives away from Corvallis, heading into the forest with his captive. According to his confession, Courtney keeps Brooke alive through the night of May 24th. He returns to town to purchase food, while she remains bound in the van, unable to escape or call for help. The next morning, May 25th, he rapes her in the woods where he parked. Brooke Wilberger reacted so strongly that he decided that he had to kill her, Haraldson tells the court. His comment was that he was surprised that she fought so hard. Brooke refuses to submit passively to her attacker. She fights back even after enduring abduction, restraint, and sexual assault. Her resistance proves her character, determined, strong, unwilling to surrender even facing impossible odds. But her courage costs her life. Courtney bludgeons Brooke to death with a blunt object, crushing her skull. He leaves her body in the forest, covering it with debris and vegetation. Then he drives away, returning to his normal life as if he didn't just commit one of Oregon's most heinous crimes. The confession reveals Courtney as a calculating predator who planned his attack, executed it methodically, and showed no remorse for destroying an innocent life. His only regret appears to be getting caught. When detectives brought Courtney in for questioning years earlier, what they heard was beyond disturbing. The interrogation of Joel Patrick Courtney takes place over multiple sessions between his 2005 arrest in New Mexico and his 2009 confession in Oregon. Detectives approach the questioning strategically, knowing they need to break through Courtney's defenses to get truthful answers about Brooke Wilberger's fate. In early sessions, Courtney maintains complete denial. He sits across from investigators with a blank expression, claiming no knowledge of Brooke's disappearance. When detectives mention the green Dodge Caravan, he shrugs. When they bring up his presence in Corvallis on May 24, 2004, he offers vague explanations about his work schedule. His demeanor projects indifference, almost boredom, as if the interview is an inconvenience rather than a murder investigation. Detectives present evidence methodically. They show him witness statements placing him near the Oak Park Apartments. They describe the OSU employee who identified his photograph. They mention the two students he attempted to abduct earlier that morning. Each revelation chips away at his denials, but Courtney refuses to crack. The breakthrough comes when forensic results arrive showing Brooke's DNA inside the van he drove. Investigators lay the reports on the table between them and watch his reaction carefully. For the first time, Courtney's composure slips. He understands the implications. DNA evidence doesn't lie. His connection to Brooke can no longer be denied. "Your DNA is mixed with hers inside that van," a detective tells him. "We know she was in there. We know you put her there. The only question now is what happened next." Courtney requests an attorney at that point, and the interrogation pauses. But the evidence weighs on him during the months that follow. He knows prosecutors have enough to pursue murder charges even without Brooke's body. He knows the death penalty looms as a real possibility. Oregon hasn't executed anyone since the 1990s, but public outrage over Brooke's case might change that calculation. Through his attorneys, Courtney begins exploring options. He doesn't want to spend years on death row facing execution. He doesn't want his legacy defined solely by this crime. He wants some measure of control over his fate. The plea negotiations begin from this position of weakness. When Courtney finally agrees to confess in exchange for life imprisonment, detectives return to the interrogation room with different objectives. Now they seek details. They need to know exactly what happened to Brooke, where her body rests, and whether Courtney committed other crimes that remain unsolved. Courtney describes May 24, 2004, with disturbing clarity. He admits to being intoxicated and high on crack cocaine that morning. He confesses to deliberately seeking a victim to fulfill his violent sexual fantasies. His description of the attacks on the two OSU students matches their testimony precisely. "I wanted a college girl," he tells investigators. "Someone young and pretty I could control." When asked why he chose Brooke specifically, Courtney explains the tactical advantages her location provided. The dead-end parking lot trapped her. No easy escape routes existed. Few witnesses could see that area from nearby apartments. The situation presented opportunity he couldn't resist. He describes approaching her while pretending to be a delivery driver. Brooke initially doesn't sense danger. Why would she? Someone asking directions or looking for an apartment seems normal. By the time she realizes his intentions, Courtney already has the knife visible and positioned to prevent her escape. Detectives ask about the duct tape found in the van. Courtney admits to preparing it beforehand, cutting strips that he could quickly apply to restrain a victim. The premeditation proves chilling. He didn't abduct Brooke on impulse. He planned an attack and executed it when opportunity arose. When questioned about keeping Brooke alive overnight, Courtney shows no remorse. He describes stopping for food while she remained bound in the van. He explains parking in remote woods where screams wouldn't reach anyone. He talks about assaulting her the next morning as if discussing routine activities. "She fought back hard," Courtney says. "Harder than I expected. She wouldn't stop fighting." Detectives press for details about her death. Courtney describes bludgeoning Brooke with a blunt object after she continued resisting the sexual assault. He admits to hitting her multiple times until she stopped moving. Then he left her body in the forest and drove away. Throughout the confession, Courtney displays remarkable emotional flatness. He doesn't cry. He doesn't express guilt or regret. He simply recounts events in chronological order, answering questions with clinical precision. Psychologists later characterize his behavior as consistent with antisocial personality disorder and psychopathic traits. Detectives ask if Brooke pleaded for her life. Courtney confirms she begged him to let her go, promised not to tell anyone, offered money if he would release her. None of it mattered. He planned to kill her from the moment he abducted her. Letting her go was never an option in his mind. When questioned about other potential victims, Courtney initially denies additional crimes, but under sustained interrogation, he admits to attacking another woman in 1993 in New Mexico. That victim managed to escape and report the crime, though Courtney was never connected to the incident at the time. The statute of limitations prevents prosecution for that attack, but it establishes a pattern of predatory behavior spanning more than a decade. Investigators ask if he feels any remorse for destroying Brooke's life and devastating her family. Courtney pauses, considering the question. His response chills everyone in the room. "I feel bad I got caught," he says. "That's what I feel bad about." The confession provides prosecutors with everything they need. Courtney's own words describe aggravated murder with special circumstances: kidnapping, rape, torture. His admissions remove any possibility of defense at trial. His description of events matches physical evidence perfectly. Detectives conclude the interrogation with one final critical question. Will he lead them to Brooke's remains? Courtney negotiates. He wants guarantees about his sentence being served in New Mexico, close to his family. He wants assurances the death penalty won't be pursued